You've been lounging with Skipper. You've been lounging with Skipper.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I welcome you all to another episode of Loungin with Skip, where I talk to different people in the entertainment industry, whether it's music, acting, TV, film, just to find out a little bit of something about what they went through to get to where they are and their journey and how they got there. To inspire others, and those who have a particular interest in that field of work, and to let you know to keep going. So I'm sitting here with a young lady representing St. Louis. We met back in, what was it,
Probably 04
04
or 05.
04, 05, doing marketing and promotion with a company called Shrewd. And this woman has been on the move ever since in the music, entertainment industry in general. And she's worked her way up to
Senior Director
of A&R at Warner Chappell Music. I want to welcome Brandra Ringo to Loungin with Skip.
Thank you. Hey, Skip.
What's going on? So, just to kind of get a little background, where are you from?
So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know how many listeners you have that are from St. Louis, but I grew up in the Normandy and Hazelwood, Florissant district for the most part.
So you went to grade school and...
So for grade school, I went to Brandr.
Okay.
And then after fourth grade starting, I was transferred over to Hazelwood. So I went to an elementary school called Kevin.
Oh, you went to Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I went to Kevin.
So you went there 5th grade?
Fourth grade,
5th grade, and 6th grade.
And then Kirby.
Wow, yeah, I went to Kirby too.
Kirby Junior.
Went to Kirby Junior High.
And then after that, I went to Hazelwood Central High School.
Okay.
So it was good. I mean, I was very athletic there.
You ran track?
Ran track. I was in marching band. In a lot of just extracurricular activities. And even after that, I was like, taking vocal lessons, piano lessons.
So you always had an interest in music?
Always.
Since you were a little kid?
Pretty much, before I could even remember.
For real?
Yeah.
So what was like something that, like something musical that inspired you as a little kid? One of the first things that hit you?
I don't know, but one of my memories as a kid, and probably because my mom took a picture of it, was in kindergarten. I was in a talent show, and I decided to bring a microphone. You remember those microphone stands? And then I sang, but I didn't exactly sing because my mom came and I was embarrassed and I cried.
Really?
Uh-huh.
And this was at Kevin?
No, this was in kindergarten. So this is preschool. Yeah, this is preschool. So this was like, I went to some school in the city.
Okay.
I can't really remember the name. St. John.
Okay.
Yeah, it was St. John's. And yeah, I basically remember that. My mom had a photo of me crying, so that was always like a deep memory for me.
What made you want to be in a talent show at that age?
I'm not really sure. Probably I was in church,
Okay.
Ever since I was born. So I would imagine that had a huge impact on my musical influence. Naturally, I think it's also something that I'm just into. As long as I can remember, I've been into music. My mom has always played music around the house.
Okay.
Tina Marie.
So, grade school. So, what do you remember? Like any of your first influences musically that you
in grade school?
Just one of your first ones that you can even think of. Something that I like that.
Okay, I'm not gonna give the typical type of music, but in third grade I had a teacher at Brandr named Miss Martin, and she played saxophone. So at the end of the year she played It's So Hard to Say Goodbye on saxophone, and I was so enamored that I was like, I want a saxophone.
Really?
And so my parents ended up putting me Did they give me a saxophone immediately? Maybe not, but I ended up playing saxophone in 4th grade because that's when like the instruments were introduced to the schools and you could rent them.
Okay.
So I ended up playing alto saxophone at the time.
Okay.
And it was pretty good. I ended up doing alto saxophone. Then I did tenor saxophone later, did the concert band, marching band in high school at Central. Okay. And so that kind of carried on until the end of high school. And I didn't really play too much after that. I bought a saxophone recently, actually, a couple years ago.
Now, during these times, were you interested in the behind-the-scenes act of music, or you were just more so just intrigued by just the actual songs themselves?
Yes and no. I've always been intrigued by the business side, but as a kid, I didn't know what that consisted of. Okay. You know, I didn't really know what opportunities were out there, so my imagination only went so far.
How far did it go?
Just thinking about working in the business.
Even at that early of an age?
Yeah, just being in the business in some way behind the scenes.
Wow.
I didn't know what that consisted of.
Okay.
But from a musical standpoint, I wanted to be an artist. Okay. So, you know, I can sing. So I've always thought about like being an artist, but I knew that I didn't have what it took to be a superstar. So I kind of, you know, opted out of that idea probably in college.
You said you cut that idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Now, what college did you go to?
Columbia College in Chicago.
Okay.
Downtown Chicago.
And that's what led you to Chicago. How was that transition moving from St. Louis to Chicago for you?
It was easy. I'm like a
the chameleon?
Yeah, in a way. In kind of, I can up and go anywhere, but back then I could.
Okay.
I don't know how I could do it now. That's the crazy part. Like as a kid, you're just fearless. Still fearless in a way, but you know, I didn't have any restrictions on my imagination back then.
So going to Columbia University or Columbia College, what was your major in?
So initially, I did audio arts and acoustics.
What did that consist of?
Engineering.
So in like studio engineering?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like sound recording, live recording, sound reinforcement.
So this is where the whole beginnings of the background of aspect of music kind of started to play a forefront
in college.
In
college. And so I ended up producing a little bit in college.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted to have something to fall back on because I knew I was going to do the business, but I was like, I need something to fall back on. And then after a while, I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I need a plan A and not a plan B. So I just kind of like transferred out maybe 2 years in. Okay. And I did music business. So after that, I switched my major to arts, entertainment, and media management.
Okay, here's where it starts.
Yeah, so that was my...
Around what year was this?
This was probably 2005 or 6.
So when I met you, where were you in the... Okay. So when I met you, what year in school were you?
Probably 2004 or 5. Probably my sophomore year of college.
Okay. What led you to Shrewd Marketing and Promotions? Now, for those that don't know, Shrewd Marketing and Promotions was a marketing and promotions company based out of Chicago, but they also had an office in St. Louis. And in 2004, I joined Shrewd Marketing. A lot of people musically behind the scenes in St. Louis, whether it was artists or producers, were actually under this company, and it was ran by Solo and Finster. And so that pretty much, and what that dealt was at the time, before it was the digital world of marketing and things of that nature, it was the physical aspect, which dealt with
sniping,
table tents?
Yep.
Table tents in the clubs. That's when you go into the clubs and you put up the flyers on the tables. And then when sniping consisted of going out at night and putting the posters of the albums coming soon up on the light poles and things of that nature. And when artists come in town, we would go around with the artists and take them around the city and take them to the radio station and to the clubs and things of that nature. And during that time, for me, I met a lot of artists during that period, and I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like it was like Young Buck, Gorilla Black,
Right.
you know.
Because at that time they serviced Atlantic Records, Def Jam Records, any label you could think of. We were servicing.
And that was so dope, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? To just be able to, it wasn't even about, for me, because I was producing at that time as well, it wasn't even about trying to get beats to these artists. It was really just trying to see, I don't know, just hang out and be amongst it, you know what I mean? And so Shrewd Marketing provided that outlet for the both of us. Anyway, one particular time, we went to Chicago. It was a cold ass night. We went to Chicago for a meeting. I don't know what it was.
Oh, it wasn't the Christmas party?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
But I know it was cold as hell, and we went to this meeting, and that's where I met Brandra, and she was there, and with some other people that were there, and that's where you were working, interning with Shrewd. And for those out there that want to get involved, you have to be able to intern and find out, you know, the ins and outs of the business before you can just jump out there and figure out a way to make money from it. You have to learn how it operates in the behind the scenes aspects. And so for Shrewd Marketing, that's pretty much what that kind of laid the foundation for the both of us.
Right, for sure.
Now, how did you get into getting with Shrewd?
I don't remember. I really don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was someone in one of my classes that probably said something, but I don't remember. It's so crazy. They were only a couple blocks from my college.
Wow.
So a lot of people who were affiliated with Shrewd also either took classes at Columbia or in some way would hang around Columbia. So I think just the affiliation within itself was probably just natural because they were so close in proximity. And close in what I was looking to do.
Right.
So
in the midst of you working for Shrewd, you said you changed your major to
arts, entertainment, and media management.
Okay.
My focus was music business, and my concentration was talent management.
Okay.
So
as you see, folks, it's all the stepping stone. You have to go through the steps in order to get to the stone. So when did you graduate, and what was your degree in?
So I ended up graduating in 2007. My degree was, arts, entertainment, and media management, which was awesome. I made a lot of connections at Columbia, which is the main reason why people end up attending that college, because of the network. It was kind of a thing where, like, if you graduate from Columbia, you failed. So, because it was so many.
Failed?
Yeah.
Also.
Because there was so many opportunities to get out, because you meet so many people there.
Okay.
Like, you can get a job, you can figure out a way to get to LA and just meet people and end up not, spending all your money in college and just getting out. And because let's be honest, you don't need a degree to work in the music business. You need a degree to intern now, but back then I was interning without probably official paperwork at places, and I interned at a lot of places. And at college, you can only intern once and get the credit. They're not going to count it numerous times. So outside of Shrewd, I was interning at a public relations company. I was interning at probably any company you could think about that had the opportunity, and I did it for free. I didn't do it for college credit. It was just free. They would throw us money when they could, but that was like a bonus.
Because you were doing it for the knowledge.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and I still thought about managing around that time, because at that point I felt like whatever I did, I needed to know all aspects of the business.
Okay.
So like I said, I interned at a public relations company, which is publicity. I did Shrewd, and they also managed at the time too. So I felt like I was kind of touching every point of the music business, and just not every point, but more points than most people were doing at that time.
So furthering along in this journey of yours, when you got your degree, what was your next steps?
So after I got my degree,
And you said in 07?
In 07,
Okay.
I went to New York for an interview with William Morris. So I forgot to talk about, I interned with Nelly's management company in St. Louis.
Okay. What company was that?
It was with T-Love.
What, Dirty E&T?
It wasn't Dirty E&T because that was a label, so I did the management side, which was Alliance Music Group at the time. They went through a couple of different names because they ended up partnering with Jay Irving and Troy Carter.
And now, what did that entail? You doing working with the management company?
Interning, I did nothing every day. Literally, I was there doing nothing because when I called, and I say that I'll get to that point, and I say that because sometimes you have to do nothing just to be in the in the vicinity, just to have the opportunity later to just have a conversation.
Yeah.
So every day I went to the office, I literally did nothing. We had too many interns in the building. When I called for the internship, they were like, "I'm sorry, we don't have any more positions available. We're maxed out." She's like, but the lady, Dana Randolph, said, "But send me your resume." I sent my resume in, and on my resume at the time, I was a member of the NCNW, which is the National Council of Negro Women, which is basically like the NAACP. It's like a sister company. So, not knowing this at the time, her aunt was the founder, Dorothy Height, who is based out of DC. Who's very instrumental in like the civil rights movement, So I didn't know. She asked me, she's like, "Do you know who founded the NCNW?" And I didn't even know. So I told she asked me, I didn't know, and she said Dorothy Hyde, and I was like, "Yes, of course." Like when she said it rung a bell at the time. And so basically she hired me off that strength. It was kind of like a sorority thing, I guess, And so because I was affiliated and was a member and heavily active, because I used to sing at different occasions in St. Louis or whatnot, and just participate and volunteer, she had me come in, and I came in and did nothing. But occasionally they would have events, because at this time T-Love was also partnering with Marshall Falk and the agent who represented him. I'm drawing a blank. Rocky Arsenal. So they were partnered together as well. And so we had like Steven Jackson, we had Marshall Falk. It was just a bunch of athletes that they represented in St. Louis and outside of St. Louis. So there would be events from time to time. We would have like golf tournaments or different events that we could help out with. But for the most part, they didn't need us. Right. They were just... it was cool to be there, We would see the artists, and occasionally, like, they would ask us to do, like, a bio for, like, St. Lunatics. Not even the Lunatics. Murphy Lee had a group back then. Yeah,
I think I remember the name of his brother.
I remember writing bios for them, and one of the guys passed away, actually. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
But, like, writing bios or whatnot, and just kind of getting in the mix as much as I could. But that all happened later. It didn't happen initially, because at that point you have to, like, they have to learn to trust you.
That's another thing. So when you get involved with these particular situations, nothing is just going to come to you overnight. You have to be able to get in where you fit in and then live in the process. You can't just get into the process and expect to grow. Even though each day is a growing process, you're not going to be able to get in and reap the benefits of the process. You have to live in the process.
For sure.
So you were part of that management company. You moved to New York.
Yeah, I ended up moving to New York.
Now, how was that transition from Chicago to New York? Probably the same because...
Not really. No,
it was different.
Totally different.
Oh, really? It was.
The weather is about the same. But not really. The weather was kind of similar to me back then, but now that I think about it, they're drastically different.
From Chicago?
Yeah. Chicago's way colder than New York. But in terms of being in the midst of the culture and what was happening in entertainment, New York had a lot more going on. At that point, New York was the hub for everything music related. Most of the labels were there. Now it's kind of transitioned. A lot of the labels are in LA and New York, and a lot of the creators are here in LA, but back then everybody was in New York. So you were in the midst of just everything, and it was a bit intimidating. I didn't know how I was going to make it. Just trying to figure it out, like figuring out where I would fit in at, figuring out what it took, but I knew I just had to be there. And that's really all it took, was just being there and being available. and not doing anything crazy, obviously.
Right.
People had to like trust me over time, and that happened. I think that's probably one of like my greatest characteristics is that people can trust me.
You.
So I ended up being in a lot of circles. I saw a lot of things, and I kind of just built relationships from there and worked in many different places. So I didn't get the job at William Morris that I initially went there to interview for, but working for T. Love's company, he and Dana Randolph, who ran The Office at the time, referred me over to Monty Littman, who was the head of Universal Records, which is now Universal Republic.
Okay.
So just Republic Records now. Okay. At the time, they were Universal Records. And
so you up in the building now?
I was in the building.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar too.
Yeah, he's the head. He and his brother run Republic Records, and I had the opportunity to interview with him, which is so rare, you know. So I'm forever grateful for that. So they didn't have anything available at the time. He ended up introducing me to someone who introduced me to the temp agency director, and I went through their temp agency. He was like, you know, just work in the temp agency, something will come up, you'll get a job, we'll make sure you get a job. He kept his word. They got me a job because I would imagine that they prioritized me, and they put me at the top of the list.
After that? What was that?
Not long.
Some months?
Yeah, some months.
Okay. Did you ever in the process of this ever feel like, man, when's something gonna happen? Or you was just kind of going with the flow, just whatever?
Oh, of course, naturally. I think we all hit those roadblocks.
What got you through?
Time. Just staying in the mix.
Okay.
Yeah, time. Just being faithful as well. But really, you just have to endure it. And some of the most successful people are people that just never quit. You know, a lot of people can't endure and they just give up, and they either they leave the city in which, you know, they sought after, or they get so frustrated and they get tired of the music industry that they just quit and they end up going back home. And
so it could have been a point in New York where you said, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to St. Louis and just work at Edward Jones or something.
In reality, yes, but for me, no.
Right.
You know, that was never a thought. I've never thought about moving back home because I knew I wouldn't have been able to pursue what I wanted to do. And the fact that I was in position was an opportunity of a lifetime, so I knew I couldn't take that for granted.
So being in New York, how long were you there?
I was in New York from 2007, and I'm skipping a lot of parts, I'm sure. I ended up working at a fabric company.
A fabric?
Yeah, it was called Swavelle Mill Creek.
What does that deal with?
To be honest with you, I don't remember, but they sold fabric.
Okay,
and
so
it was
you
a
was just
$1 million company.
So you were doing something basically to pay the bills?
Yeah, for sure. Until the temp agency called me and said they had something in the music business.
Exactly. That's like me going to work at Walgreens and just waiting for something to happen, you know, with the music or with the barbering or things. And you just working at a fabric company, just, hey, they hired me, they're paying me, it's paying the bills, let me get it.
And I think the temp agency gave me that job, yeah.
Okay.
I got the job through them.
Okay.
And so it was probably a test too, to figure out if I would last, you know? Now that I think about it, I never really...
Like a test to see, like give you some old whatever type job to see if you'd be like, man, this. So how long was you working there?
Some months. I don't remember. I'm kind of losing track of the time frame.
Now tell me this: when you worked there, because you know how
I was a switchboard clerk.
Okay, yeah. So I know you were watching the clock like every hour, like how much.
Not really, because this company was busy.
Oh, busy.
This company was bringing in money because that switchboard was ringing.
Okay. Because you know how sometimes when you're on a job that you don't like, you're constantly looking at the clock. How many hours I got left?
Yeah.
I can't wait till the weekend.
I didn't have that in me back then.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
I didn't have that in me.
So you were just enjoying.
I was just chilling.
Okay, you were just chilling.
I was cool, but I didn't work there that long. And a guy that I knew in Chicago referred me And granted, I'm losing track of the events. But he ended up recommending me for a job in marketing. And I ended up working for this company called Noise Marketing.
Okay.
And at the time, we represented Bombay Sapphire. So I would put on events for entertainment professionals or celebrities in LA or Atlanta or wherever it might be.
But you were still in New York.
I was in New York.
Okay.
And so this was obviously after the fabric company job, I think. I'm pretty sure. And I worked there, which was awesome. I met some really cool people. And it was great. We put on one of the events for Jesse Jackson's 67th or 66th birthday party.
You met Jesse Jackson?
Yes. And it was the first time Michael Jackson appeared.
Michael?
After Michael had been away for a while, remember back then. And so this was, it was rumored that Michael was going to show up to this event. And you know, we were all like, Michael is not coming. You know, but it was a big event.
Did he show up?
He showed up.
Did
and
you
I
see
met
him?
him. I met Michael.
You met Michael Jackson?
Yes.
What was that like?
I'm not starstruck, so when I tell this story to people, they're like, what? So one of my duties that night was to like man the door. Why I was manning the door, I'm not really sure. But it was at the Beverly Hills Hotel on Wilshire.
So, but you were still living in New York?
Yes.
Okay, but you would fly out?
Yes, for events.
Okay.
And yeah, it was awesome. Imagine being that young, like staying in a really nice hotel.
And Michael Jackson is coming through the door.
Michael Jackson is allegedly coming, and he comes with Berry Gordy. And so for me,
you're getting hit with a double win.
Yeah, but let me tell you how. I know this is gonna sound crazy to most people, but for me at the time, I wanted to meet Berry Gordy. I didn't necessarily care about meeting Michael Jackson because in my mind, I'm thinking, how far can I get with a celebrity? I need to get far with a businessman. So I wanted to meet Berry Gordy. And my boss, Yvonne McNair, wanted to meet Michael. She ended up meeting Berry, and I met Michael. And I wanted to meet Berry so bad because I knew if I could just talk to him, I could find a way or, you know, get some type of advice on how to break into the music business. So that was my goal that night. And her goal was to meet Michael Jackson, and we flip-flopped.
Wow.
But it was great. I mean, he shook my hand. His hand was super soft.
For real?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was cool.
Was he soft-spoken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very soft-spoken.
Now, what year was this?
This was 2000. I graduated in 2007, so this was either 2007 or 2008.
And then he passes away.
Right.
What was it? 1 year later?
Probably, yep. Because I was working at Def Jam recording. 2009. I was at Def Jam when it happened. And I remember telling people there. I remember the day Michael passed away because I was working at Def Jam. L.A. Reid was running the company. And
so you met these guys, L.A. Reid?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And it was just interesting. I remember telling the story about Michael Jackson and it just being so crazy to people that I have met him. Yeah. Because Michael didn't come out like that.
You know, it's interesting speaking on that because, like, with John Singleton passing, like, I met John back in February. And for now this to happen, it's like, wow. It's crazy. I didn't even take a picture with him. Like, I wanted to.
I never take pictures.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't either unless I'm actually, like, you know, in the midst of, you know, cutting the hair or I'm in the studio, you know what I mean? Things like that. But just to take a picture with him, I don't really do that. So when that whole situation came about and I met him, you know what I'm saying, because he's also a frat brother, we just talked to each other for a quick second, and because the lady who hired me on to be one of the hairstylists for Snowfall, I was like, well, I'll be back. Right. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to just take pictures with this man the first day I meet him. But I never made it back. Yeah. And so, boom, and that happens. It's like,
when was this?
This was early February.
Wow.
Yeah. I was on Snowfall maybe like the first week they started back filming.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? So it just okay. So tell me this. So how did it feel to be? Here it is, this young girl from St. Louis, and now you're out here, you L.A. Reid, Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? Like, you just graduated from high school, went off to college, you finished, now you're doing this. I mean, it's like things are kind of moving so fast for you. Is that how it felt during the time? Or it was just like, this is just what I'm on? You know, some people, when they're a part of success, they don't think about the processes of going through it because they feel like whatever it is that they're doing it's a part of what it is they're doing. It's them. Whereas someone else would be like super starstruck,
right,
super tripping out. You know what I mean? Whereas with you were kind of just going with the flow. For
sure.
How did that feel for you at this point in your life, coming from St. Louis, that little girl at Keevan and going to Kirby, and now here you are in New York doing all these different things?
It felt necessary for the journey. And I say this in the most non-egotistical, with much confidence. It's what had to happen. You know, I never looked at it. I've never been starstruck with any artist. So it never really fazed me. But it's kind of just a part of the process, and you kind of got to go through these things. To, you know, we've seen many celebrities. So especially just living in LA, just, you know, even in New York, you can just run into celebrities just being there. So I was never fazed by it, but it was just necessary for the process and for the journey. And I never really thought about it that way. So for the first part of what you said, I agree. It was just kind of natural. It just, I just kind of did it. I was never in the moment of like, I was in the moment of like, thank you God, but I was never in the moment of I've made it, because it was never enough for me. And I think when you know where you want to go, you know that those steps are necessary.
Right.
So
boom, being in New York, what inspired the transition to occur from you moving from New York to LA?
Well, I've always wanted to live in LA. After Columbia, my goal or my plan was to have my car shipped. I was working on having my car shipped. I had a cousin out here. She still lives here. She had basically said I could live with her. I was coming to LA in my mind. New York was just this dark place to me. I was never really, because I had interned in New York. It was never like an aspiring city I wanted to be in. I just didn't naturally feel the energy of it. So I've always wanted to be in LA because I love the weather. It just felt like that's where all the celebrities were that I needed to be with. And New York always felt all work, no play. And I guess I just never fell in love with the energy of New York. But being there and knowing what I know now, it was very necessary for me to go to New York first, because there's just a work ethic and a hustle about the city that I'm sure I had naturally. Both of my parents, my mom, you know, they were workaholics. My mom retired twice. My dad, you know, he worked at Ford Motors, retired, had his own auto body and towing company, and just worked at a bunch of different places, but always worked for themselves too. So I've kind of had just that work ethic from seeing them, but New York is a different beast. And so I'm glad that I had a chance to live there and kind of see what it took, because you know those people are cutthroat in New York. It's like people are cutthroat in LA as well, but it's just a different type. It's like the epitome of what Diddy is. It's like you saw that all the time. You know?
Yeah. So it's kind of like that grit.
Yes.
It's more of a gritty kind of feel to the business, and it's not really as bright and glamorous as the LA lifestyle.
No, not at all.
To appreciate the glam of LA, you have to go to the grit of New York.
For sure.
Yeah. So you made your transition to LA, and what was your reason for moving out here?
I ended up, just to fast forward a few steps. So after I worked at Def Jam Recordings, my boss passed away. I worked for Shakir Stewart, who was the executive vice president of Def Jam. That's the one who was in. I remember seeing him on was that TV show with the brothers. Yes. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, he passed away back in 2008.
2008? Wow, it's been 2008 already?
Yeah.
It's like 11 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
So unfortunately that happened, and I was lucky enough to still be able to work at Def Jam because one of my mentors at the time was Grace Miguel, and she kind of took me under her wing and she allowed me to work in her department. She was running the marketing department, the new media department, and the creative department. And so she basically created a temporary position for me to work out of until they figured out a way for me to fill one of the full-time positions. So I was able to stay there. Afterwards, I ended up working with Usher briefly, and then kind of got back into the temp agency system because my husband ended up getting really sick. He was my boyfriend at the time. And I just kind of stayed in Syracuse for a while because he was in the hospital up there. So get back to the city, you know, money's running out. I had saved a lot of money working with Usher. But the money was starting to run out and I didn't have a job. So I had to get back into the temp agency. And I remember just being so depleted emotionally of just not having a job and just having the desire to want to work so bad that I was crying every day like I just want to work. And it was so stressful, very depressing. And I didn't have a job, and I necessarily wasn't reaching out to people because I think my pride was feeling away too, like where do I even start? So I ended up going back through the temp agency, and I was very specific. I told the lady, I said, don't call me unless you have a publishing position or a marketing position. And I remember when I was working with Usher, I ended up meeting a superstar songwriter, Esther Dean, and she was very influential in like my spiritual journey at that point. I was always spiritual, but at this point, she was reading the book The Secret. And she would tell people about The Secret all the time. And she was manifesting craziness. Like everything she said she wanted, she got it. I literally can't think of anything back then that she wanted that she didn't get.
Yeah, The Secret. Yeah.
So
I had that DVD.
Yeah, so I was in communication a lot with Esther, and we talked a lot. And so she was basically telling me, she just basically gave me the fire for months later. And so months later, I remember just praying to God, and I remember writing my prayer out. I still have it somewhere. I wonder if I can find it. I wrote it in a journal. I have a prayer journal. I don't really use it anymore. But back then, I wrote, like, I will have a job within 30 days, like, demanding it.
Okay.
And because I was so frustrated with not being able to work, I'm like, this is what I have left. And probably day 32 or 30... Yeah, probably day 32, I get the call from the temp agency about working at ASCAP. And so I ended up working at ASCAP, which led me, and I was very specific in my prayer. I was like, this job will lead me to my career job, or whatever it is, this will be like the breaking for what I'm to do next.
Wow.
And so I ended up working at ASCAP, which is, it's not publishing exactly, but it's dealing with songwriters.
Yeah.
So I interned there. It was only a
And
brief...
that was here or in New York?
That was in New York City.
Okay.
So I ended up temping there, and after that, I ended up temping with Ethiopia Hapsamariam and Jill Shagel at Universal Music Publishing Group in New York.
Okay.
So I temped with them for a few months and basically got hired full time.
Wow.
And after that, Ethiopia asked me if I wanted to move to LA. So I ended up moving to LA. Mind you, I was a kick-ass assistant because I had worked for Usher. So I could, everything was easy for me. Like, you know, I was probably organizing her life in a way she had never seen. So she was like, would you like to move to Los Angeles? Because at this time, the music business was transitioning out here. And she kind of had the vision of where the music business was going. So we came out here pretty early on.
What year was this?
Probably 2012. I moved the same day Whitney passed away.
Wow.
I remember landing to text messages about her passing, and I was like, this is a really cool joke. Because I couldn't believe
I remember
she
that
had
day.
passed away.
So that was the day that you moved out here.
That was the day I landed. It was Grammy weekend. It was Clive Davis had the party that same night, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. It was a horrific situation. And that was my introduction to LA. unfortunately. And so
I remember that day. Wasn't that like February?
Yep, it's like February
2012.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So you've been out here now 7 years.
Yeah.
Does it feel like 7 years?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know. I mean, the seasons are so...
Yeah, they just come and go.
LA is just interesting in that way.
It's like it doesn't... It's like you can take the people away and put new people in place, and it's the same. The time just kind of goes here.
Yeah, it does.
It's like it's still the young... depending on what you're feeling in that space, you can still go back in Hollywood or go over whatever.
Yeah.
It's still the same thing.
I tell people all the time, we mature a little bit slower. And I don't say mature in we're immature people.
No. It's not like in St. Louis. People grow up faster, quicker,
for sure.
families.
Or they achieve different things faster than how we are in entertainment.
Yeah.
We're very youthful in that way because the business is moving so fast, we end up putting off a lot of things.
Yeah.
So people who were having kids and were getting married, for us in the entertainment business, we were just like still trying to get a foot in the door. So things, it takes a long time to break into the business. So we end up sacrificing love. We end up sacrificing our families. We end up sacrificing things that are very close and dear to us for the passion and for the opportunity just to work in the music business and entertainment. So
that's what I'm saying. Everything you're saying is like true.
Yeah.
True.
So we're like hanging out still in our 30s, like hard.
True. No, you true. That's definitely 100% accurate. I mean, I've sacrificed a lot, moving out here. It's been 9 years.
I remember.
It's been 9 years.
Yeah. We used to talk all the time about love and, And, I remember.
And here I am, out here and, different things happening. So being out here, what has that done for you to where it led you to where you are today?
Being out here, I'm not going to say everything has been peaches and cream. I went through a very tough period at Universal Publishing where I thought, and still do feel this way, I should have been further along. And I had an amazing, still do, Ethiopia Haptimariam is an amazing mentor for me. And we went through a change of regime. Basically, we had another person come in and head the company, and just naturally things happened. And so when my promotion was supposed to happen, it just didn't happen in the timely manner in which I would have wanted it to and really have needed it to for my mental sanity. And I just kind of broke. I was very depressed. I was very, I wasn't encouraged. I was just over it. But I stuck it through. I mean, I would cry every day pretty much, just wanting to be in a different place. And that went on for a long time, just the transition. So a lot of the old regime left. Basically everyone from the old regime left. And I was kind of one of the last people still there, but not really at a place where I thought I should have been, because people were coming in over me. And I had been at the company for years, 5 years probably at this point. And so I was kind of looking for a new opportunity, but hadn't really gotten my feet wet on the creative A&R side, in which I needed to move forward.
What made you want to go into the A&R side, and what does the A&R, what does the A&R do for those out there that are listening that had no idea what that is, but they've always heard of that word?
So A&R stands for Artist and Repertoire. People never say it, but that's what it stands for. It's kind of just it's grandfathered in, I guess, at this point. The work is not, it's just weird. But being an A&R on the publishing side, I can give you what that means. And I didn't become an A&R on the label side. I ended up working with Ethiopia at Motown as well. So at some point when I was assisting her, we ended up working at Motown Records and Universal Music Publishing Group at the same time, because they were both under Universal Music Group, and she was asked to do both positions. So I assisted her in both realms of that. A&R on the publishing side consists of identifying, scouting, developing talent, creating opportunities for your songwriters, your producers. Sometimes those are artists. Just people use the word exploit, and I hate using that. We're basically finding endless opportunities for your catalog, for the music that you're creating on a daily basis, and feature opportunities if you're an artist, and just different ways so that you can make money. And so on the publishing side, the way we make money is through royalties. And that has changed along the years because of streaming.
Right.
And so
now, do you all handle like licensing as far as like
yes,
TV
yes,
and film?
That's another way to make money.
Right.
Through synchronization.
Right.
Performance royalties is another way. There's quite a few, but the main way to make money is through synchronization and through performance royalties. Mechanical royalties aren't as prevalent nowadays.
And that's off of sales.
Like a download or a CD sale or vinyl.
Because folks aren't really
are just
buying
streaming.
CDs.
Exactly.
Right, they're just streaming.
So the business has gotten a lot cutthroat on the publishing side because of that. Streaming companies don't pay out properly to songwriters. And when I say songwriters, I mean anybody that writes music. So whether they're a producer or an artist, anybody that creates music, I say songwriter. They don't pay out properly to songwriters as they should, and it's a continued fight that we're having with Congress. And I don't know if you've seen recently, but there's been an appeal from Spotify, Pandora, and other companies.
I heard about something about that.
Not Apple, but yeah, they're appealing their rate.
Yeah.
So they want to pay us less than what they're already paying us, which is pennies anyway.
Spotify.
All the DSPs pretty much.
Now what are DSPs?
They're basically the digital platforms. So like YouTube.
Digital streaming platforms.
Yeah, digital streaming platforms.
Okay. So YouTube, Deezer,
Pandora, Tidal. All of those companies.
Apple.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so I know Tidal pays out I think a penny or maybe even 2 pennies a play.
It's crazy.
And Apple does a penny a play. Spotify, you had to do 3 streams for one penny. And
whatever, probably less than that. Whatever the number is, I don't want to quote a number now, but whatever that number is based off owning 100%.
Yeah.
So if you don't own 100%, which most people don't, you own maybe 10%, or maybe you own 50%, or 40%, or 30%. You have to basically divide that up from the rate that they're giving you, which is a joke.
And nowadays, producers, and songwriters, now on records you see 4 and 5 songwriters
at least
on one track.
Oh, for sure. And if there's a sample, plenty more.
I was looking on Drake Scorpion.
Okay.
And what's the record? The joint with the Lauryn Hill sample.
Okay.
It was probably about 15 writers on that record.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that record made a ton of money.
It made a ton of money. So it's even if as a writer you got 2%, 3%, I'd be like, hey, it is what it is. I take 2 or 3% of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what led you to the position that you're in right now? And what is the position that you're in right now? What does it consist of? And you have some artists out there like, man, I wonder if she can sign me, or I wonder if she can. What led you to where you are now?
Working at Universal, getting my feet wet, grounded, signing. I was very instrumental in re-signing some really important guys like Metro Boomin.
And did you know him from back the crib?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. But it was very important for me to sign him because he's from St. Louis and he's amazingly talented. And it was just close to home for me. So I re-signed him with a couple other coworkers. And
so you re-signed. So check this out, y'all. So you re-signed Metro Boomin.
Yeah.
To a
publishing deal.
To a pub deal.
at Universal. And when I say pub deal, I'm not going to be specific because his deal is confidential. But there are different types of deals. There are administrative deals. There are co-publishing deals.
Yeah. But you were a part of his.
Yeah. For sure. So that was very important for me. So I started, making sure that even though I hadn't properly gotten promoted, that I was still doing the work of the A&R. And so I would be in the streets. I would, working with Ethiopia, I was meeting everybody. So a lot of things were coming to me. I was talking to a lot of people, building relationships. So I kind of just took that and kind of ran with it and just kind of put my head down and worked. Even though I was frustrated, even though I was depressed, even though I didn't think things should be where I wanted them to be at the time, I just continued to work. And that happened. I already signed Happy Perez, and I signed Lil Yachty with another coworker.
With a pub deal.
Yes. And with another coworker, Lil Yachty was signed with Walter Jones. He's actually running A&R on the West Coast now, Universal Publishing. Congrats to Walt. He just got promoted. So yeah, I started doing, making those type of moves. And so it was recognized after a while, and I wasn't anticipating on leaving the company.
You ended up leaving?
I ended up leaving the company in what are we in right now?
2019.
I left it last year.
And
So
you left
Universal, and now I'm at Warner Chappell Music.
Now, what made you go to Warner Chappell Music?
I just ended up getting courted, and it happened, I didn't necessarily seek after the job.
What artists are with like Warner Chappell Music?
So we have Meek Mill, we have Lil Wayne, we have Ray Shrimmer, we have, in terms of songwriters, we have all the eardrummers. I've signed quite a few people since I've been there.
Now I'm seeing on your IG. So it said in what was this? In March.
Yeah.
Women who run the music industry.
Oh yeah.
We have Brandra Ringo, Senior Director of A&R at Warner Chappell. How did it feel to get recognized from iStandard for that? As one of the women who run the music industry.
It was great. It was a great
because
feeling.
iStandard is a known producer.
Yeah. I work with those guys a lot, at least a couple times a year. Jay Hatch, who runs iStandard, is an amazing person, and so I help out when need be. And I was really excited to see that. It was great. It's really great.
So I mean, well, I'm just happy that to see you go from the young girl at Shrewd, to being recognized by iStandard and the women in the music industry, at this, and the thing about it is you're so young to where you still have a lot more to go. Yeah. And how does that feel for you to know that you have a lot more to go? I mean, you never know.
I don't really think about time anymore. I just kind of
go.
Act in the now. And just being at Warner Chappell, I've signed a lot of guys. I've signed these guys are amazing, and I know they will be even more amazing as time goes on. But I just want to kind of highlight some of the people who I work with. Kirk Knight, who's out of Brooklyn.
I heard that name before.
He's an artist, producer, and songwriter. He produced A$AP Ferg's Plain Jane.
Okay.
But he's also an artist signed to Pro Era, Joey Badass's company.
That's what I heard.
So, they're on the road right now on the Beast Coast tour, and this weekend he'll be performing at Rolling Loud in Miami. So I'll see him down there. Okay. But like I said, he produced A$AP Ferg's Plain Jane, and that's when I first discovered who he was. And then I met him in the studio, and he ended up telling me how he came up with the track, and he built that track around Ferg's vocal. And I thought that was fascinating. I was like, he's talented. Yeah.
Okay. So, I think I seen him on the
Deconstructed?
The YouTube. Yep.
Yeah.
On Genius.
It's on my page too.
On Genius.
Yeah. And so when he told me the story, I was like, this dude's talented. I gotta sign him. And I signed him, and I'm really happy about his success, and he's got a lot more coming too. Some really cool stuff that I can't mention yet, but it's dope.
Who else you
I signed DJ Darrell, who is Migos' tour DJ and in-house producer. He did Narcos, Ice Tray from Migos.
Okay.
He's also on 3 songs on Takeoff's project.
Okay.
So they work very closely together. He's also working on his personal project that's also going to go through Quality Control Motown. So he's very in the mix with all those guys, and even the affiliates like Young Thug or like, you know, Rich the Kid. He's got music with a lot of these guys, you know. So when his project comes, it'll be really cool to see.
Dope.
Also signed this guy DY Crazy, producer out of 808 Mafia.
Okay.
He produced Gucci's last single, Wake Up in the Sky, featuring Bruno Mars and Kodak Black.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a dope record. That's a dope, yeah.
So that was my first or second.
That song?
Yeah, it was the #1 record. So it was #1 at Rhythmic Radio, and it was #1 at Urban Radio.
Yeah.
So I signed him.
So you were a part of that structure of that happening.
Yeah.
That's a dope. Okay. Now,
signing him on the
now with
publishing
Kodak
side.
Black, you know, his whole thing happened. I'm pretty sure they probably, you know, kind of slowed that down.
Well,
as
you
far as
know,
being played out here.
it had climax. It had reached its peak. So
Yeah.
at that point, but I mean that's recent.
Yeah.
But
because it was going. Because I remember the week that came out. It was, matter of fact, it was the week my sister passed. It was it was that week. She passed September 24th.
Okay.
So it was during that like first week was when I remember first hearing it.
Yeah.
On 92.3.
Yeah. So that was my first #1 at Warner Chappell. Which was a goal. It was a huge. That was really big for me. Being a part of that.
So being a part of that, you were like you placed that, like you said.
This particular record,
that
no.
beat, or like, how did that?
So this particular record, I will get credit for identifying the talent before something came out. So a part of being an A&R is identifying the guys who you think will be hit makers.
Okay.
So I identified him and I signed him.
Okay.
DY Crazy. So I wasn't a part of the actual record. The record was done before I met him.
Okay.
But, you know, I saw him as someone that was in the streets, someone that was very aggressive, someone that was obviously very talented. And he was someone that I wanted to be a part of my team. You know, I'm obviously a part of his team, so it's a partnership. So we went in partnership together probably around in September or August. No, I think it was August. If the record came out in September, we agreed in August. Probably, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure.
So to, you know, other females out, you know, young females out there, young guys out there that are interested in doing what it is that you're doing, for those that are listening, what can you give them as words of encouragement to inspire them and to, you know, give them some, you know, a boost, you know, in what it is that they're trying to do? You know, it could be a listener right now listening in Ohio, or somebody from St. Louis right now that's listening to this and want to be on the same path as what it is that you're doing. What is some words of encouragement that you can give them to, you know, further along themselves?
Map out exactly what it is that you want and work backwards. And don't let anything get in the way of that.
Map out exactly what it is you want and work backwards.
In terms of your plan. Like map it out backwards.
So start with the goal.
Start with the big goal. Map that out, what that looks like. And then you go for the goal. And don't let anything distract you. I remember I had a girlfriend in St. Louis who was like, I don't know how you can just up and move. And I'm like, she was like, how do you do it? I said, I don't think about it.
Just do it.
You just do it. You don't think about anything else that's in the way. You have to have tunnel vision. In a way. You know, like I said before, we sacrifice a lot of things to be in position or to have these opportunities to live so far away from our family.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to, like at this point, I have a relationship to where I've worked my butt off so much to where I can call my family whenever I want. I can make time to see them whenever I want. But it was one point where I couldn't even pick up the phone to answer for my friends because I was an assistant. It was no time for it, you know? So I had to have tunnel vision back then. I couldn't get distracted. And, you know, a lot of people's like, you just kind of, you don't mess with me no more. And I'm like, no, it's not that at all. I'm literally working 12-hour days or more. But it was a part of the journey. I don't regret it.
So what are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future is to have some type of ownership to own my own business, whether that's a publishing company, management company. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I do know that I need ownership in something. And to develop more artists. So, writers. I love working with songwriters and producers.
What do you like? What do you love about working with artists? I mean, with writers and producers?
They're the people, the music business isn't ran without them. And people kind of disregard them a lot. Without the songwriters, there is no music business. Like, what are we talking about?
Right, without no music.
Without no music, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people think it's the artist. There are a lot of artists that make music, but at the very fundamental piece of this, there are songwriters who are coming up with genius material out of just nothing. So I love to be close to that. I love putting sessions together, putting producers with songwriters. I love putting producers with artists. You know, I love being a person that, you know, my friends call on me at labels, or managers will call on me and say, hey, you got any tracks? You know, like, I kind of get off on that because I'm a part of the creative process, you know, like.
No, I can see how that can, because it kind of goes back with the shrewd thing. It's kind of like, and that's with me, you know, the whole process of actually being up there with the tape tints and putting those out and putting up the posters and the light poles and putting those
You're
out.
part of the process.
And when artists come in town, we're going around the town with them, going to the clubs and radio. That part of it, I just enjoy doing because I felt like I was a part of this process of, you know, you all are hearing these people on the radio, but you don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
For sure.
It's kind of the same thing as far as being, you know, a stylist or a barber for TV and film. You don't know all the different components of the people that are working together to be able to provide for these artists or these actors, whatever, to be on camera, and all you see is the actors, but it's a whole behind the scenes thing going on with the set and just
the whole machine.
Yeah. And so that part of it for me, you know, is kind of like one of those things where it gets me feeling good to be a part of that. You know what I mean? That's one thing, you know, as far as with like creating music, you know, it's just, you know, picking from some space in my mind that can probably, you know, come to fruition in this world of where people would be like, yo, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So tell me this, how can people reach out to you if they wanted to, you know what I mean? How can they, you know, contact you, your info, you know, what is your IG?
My IG is Brandra, so just at Brandra, Brandra like Sandra. Or you can reach out to me. My email address is brandra.ringo@warnerchappell.com.
Okay. And is there any type of music you're looking for people that out there listening?
Just great material.
Just dope shit.
Yeah. I mean, I never want to like be specific with creators like that. You know, you don't want a person to tailor your needs, because as a creator, I want to know what you are first.
Yeah.
So just be yourself.
Dope shit.
Yeah.
Brandra, I appreciate you. I thank you and you know, for being able to lounge with me. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I mean, this has been a long time coming. We was trying to link up for a long time, and it finally came to fruition.
Happened.
So I'm very appreciative.
Same here.
And much respect to you, and thank you.
you.
And for those out there who are listening, you can reach me at Loungin with Skip Podcast in the DM. You can hit me up. And until next time, I'll talk with you. Peace.